Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Aditi. Good morning.
Hi, Jagmohan. Good morning. Very good to see you.
Likewise, lovely seeing you here. Thank you so much for taking time out and accepting my invite to be a part on this podcast as a guest. Lovely having you here.
No, no, my pleasure, Jagmohan. My pleasure.
Great. So, before while we start off, I'd like to start off with a very open-ended question. So, I have done some research on you, whatever is available on the internet, but our listeners have no idea as to who I'm talking to. They only know your name, Aditi Chamaria. So, if you can, uh, talk about, walk us through your journey up until here. How was your childhood growing up? Where did you grow up? What are the things that influenced you to kind of do what you're doing now? And yeah, anything. Feel
Wow.
free to go as back as you can, Aditi.
Wow. So that's going to be some story. So, Jagmohan, I've been born and brought up in Calcutta. So
Okay.
now I stay in Bombay. But
Right.
I've been born and brought up in Calcutta, and Calcutta is, known for its culture, its education, and its English. So now I'm an English teacher for GMAT and GRE, which are these competitive exams. But obviously, when I look back, it's been quite an interesting journey that I've had. So, I was in Calcutta. We are two sisters, and my mother was a very, very ambitious lady. She always wanted us to be very independent. I come from a very typical Marwari family. So we are known to be entrepreneurs, but the women are expected to be, more of homemakers, and especially, the age and time I'm speaking about. But I guess I was fortunate to be born to my parents. Like, they were very forward looking and progressive. So my sister and I, we've always been like the front benchers, nerdy, geeky girls studying, and known to be like, the rank holders, and to be uh, just, good academically. Now, natural progression from there, Jagmohan, is, I took up science in class 11, 12. So interestingly, I took up science, and then I pursued engineering for 4 years, again
Okay.
from Calcutta.
Right.
So I was good with my languages, whether it was Hindi, English, or Bengali, and I
Okay.
had a flair for it. But so was I good in my sciences and maths. So a natural, I think, choice was that one does not take arts, or mass
Yeah.
communication and journalism was something which I was toying with. But I think that typical idea that take up science, then you can go into anything that you want to. So
Right.
at least you take a safe stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, again, it was a natural progression into an engineering college. Interestingly, Jagmohan, I went from an all girls, very urban, very, very English speaking school to a engineering college, which was probably, more of native speakers than English speakers. So there were
Right.
people who were from, the outskirts of Calcutta, the suburbs of Calcutta,
Yeah.
and English was not something which was a natural language to be spoken amongst peers.
Yeah.
Or I observed that, even the professors would actually, start teaching in Bengali sometimes,
Right.
because the majority was like that. So, but I went from a very strong, city convent kind of an education into something like that.
Right.
Um, I think, that was like a blessing in disguise, because I naturally got a lot of opportunities,
Mm.
because there were not too many English speakers to kind
Right.
of write for magazines, host events, or like reach out to people, or also be in the forefront for speaking on recruitments or going to companies, etc.
Right.
So never did I realize, but all of this was happening in the background. But I was pursuing my engineering, and engineering, 4 years of engineering was a lot of fun, Jagmohan. It was very logical. The content taught is very strong in engineering colleges, and
Right.
of course, campus recruitments. That time, IT was booming. So campus
Right.
recruitments was also like very easy. So I got through like 3, 4 companies. I chose to stick to one company, which was in Calcutta,
Okay.
and I actually joined that company as well, and I started coding there.
Right.
So I was basically a computer science engineer coding
Okay.
in a company called Cognizant Technology Solutions.
Right.
And while doing that, I think, Jagmohan, as in the passion in me, so I always had this passion for teaching. And I think most of us, most of us trainers I've seen, we develop this passion, when we're teaching neighbors or siblings or cousins or friends, and so probably, as in that is what they tell me now, that I was patient with them. So,
Right.
they could approach and I was a little approachable, etc. But
Right.
that's what I realize now. But this was never a conscious decision. So
Right.
I did engineering, started coding. While doing that, I said, look, this is great. This is 9 to 7. But can I complement this with my passion? Because, now the career seems to be set, etc. So I just started looking at a few centers, which would do coaching for maths,
Right.
because I had done engineering and probably
Yeah.
math,
Yeah.
that was the natural thing.
Yeah.
There was a new company, a new center which had opened up in Calcutta, which were looking for trainers. And,
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me apply there. I went through a few rounds of interview and had to take a demo class, had to sit for training. So while I was sitting for training there for math, the master trainer there told me, and I think that was the game changer. He told me, Aditi, why don't you sit for the English training as well? I
Hmm.
said, look, sir, as in, of course, that's nice of you to say, but I've not studied English. So, as an English is something which I like. I like to read, I like to speak, but this is not something which I've studied. He said, no, no, doesn't matter. Just sit for the training. We'll see how that goes, etc. And then I sat through the English training, Jagmohan, got certified to teach both math and English for GMAT and GRE and SAT. And somehow started getting more verbal classes than math classes.
Okay.
I think as a country, India, we produce a lot of maths teachers,
Yeah.
and there are not so many language teachers. And before I could realize, I was enjoying it like how.
Right.
I was very young then, Jagmohan. The class would be very young, Sometimes the kids would be older than me, my students.
Right.
So, and my age or a little older, okay, but there were hardly students who were younger than me.
Younger.
Because
Right.
this is when I was 24.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun for me. There was a lot of energy, and I would feel one of them, but still, I was kind of training them. So
Right.
it was very different from training kids,
Right.
because this is like a mature lot which were self motivated.
Correct.
So, the soft skills, as in, I did not have to work with. I did not have to work with motivating them or kind of, getting hold of their attention, because they were very self motivated. So I was just, into training them. And yeah, so that's how it started. And then I have never looked back.
You haven't looked back since then.
Yeah.
Great. It was interesting that you spoke about transitioning from a English-speaking urban school to this engineering college, right? And you said, obviously, right, because in India at least, intelligence and language are somehow, not interlinked for a lot of people because really intelligent people come from smaller cities who have no exposure to English, but obviously engineering is one thing that they can totally excel in because that's the one that leads needs the least of English, at least in India, as long as you can do anything in India. But from a English language perspective, right? I mean, I'm just trying to connect this situation of yours and your career that is spanning about 16 years as an English trainer. I mean, I'm not interested in knowing about people who already knew some English, but they were looking to train for these exams and who cracked it. But there must be some students who as a trainer you must have felt that okay, how am I gonna like really train this person? The English is not even up a certain point. I need to come from basics. But then they would have been really intelligent. Is there The reason I'm asking you this question is this, right? This is an opportunity for me to talk about the importance of English, how English can probably lift somebody's life from average lifestyle to really significantly amazing lifestyle. So, do you have any such stories, where you'd like to share? Somebody coming from the outskirts of Kolkata, probably now in London, doing really well for themselves, something like that.
So, Jagmohan, honestly, what I am doing is unfortunately for the elite or the privileged class. Okay, so today what I'm
Right,
doing is almost 90% of my students come from a urban English speaking background, because then they are, they find the transition easier. Because what I am
right,
doing currently is GMAT and
right,
CRE and SAT, all three are to take you abroad. Okay,
right.
probably the US, UK,
Yeah,
Singapore, Canada. So it's easier for these kids to aspire to go abroad. And naturally, when we're looking at somewhere, in abroad studies, we're looking at a lot of money. So they do come from privileged backgrounds. So they don't
right,
necessarily realize this, but of course, they come in from a point of privilege because they already, so they don't realize, but they think in English, they speak in English, they've
right,
also read in English. So of course, it's not so much of a trouble for me to teach
right,
them. So I don't know how much you guys would know about GMAT, but it's a competitive exam and multiple choice. So
right,
very reading based, very comprehension based. So
right,
if you're looking at people from the smaller towns or rural India, who've not like really had the privilege of reading or studying in English, so that set of people would be more aspirational, and it would be difficult to kind of coach them, because let's understand, I'm not here to teach you English, as in the
right,
base is
right,
there, and then I'm just teaching you to crack GMAT and get the score.
right,
But very interestingly, Jagmohan, what you pointed out is something which I really resonate with. That
right,
intelligence is not proportional to your language skills, but
right,
unfortunately, and I again think this is a very Indian thing, that our perception of someone is, based on language skills a lot of times, and especially English.
right,
So, which is what brings me to my brand VerbalUp, and the vision with VerbalUp, which I'll be touching upon, is primarily bringing English to first these engineering colleges, and then taking it to the masses, so that as in there are so many Jagmohan who reach out to me, and I of course do train them, but I realize that uh, they don't have basic English skills, and that is why maybe they can't go to a Harvard. Otherwise, they would be probably much more capable than someone who can just speak English. So
right.
intelligence and content would probably be more. It's just that they don't have the confidence, and they don't have the confidence because they can't speak English, which I think is just like another skill set. It's just a language for expression. So
Yeah,
that should not be
yeah.
judgment. But unfortunately, we do judge.
But it's unfortunate.
Yes. So there's a
Right.
lot of, I think, work which needs to be done in the spoken English sphere with, AI now, and with so many tools available now, which I feel that, so that if these students can bridge that little gap, then, then the world is their oyster.
Got it. Got it, Aditi. I just got a thought when you were talking about. I clearly, you made it very clear that you have your target audience defined for a lot of reasons. Which is, we don't have to like really get into the why and stuff like that. Now, you also said that there is a gap between the levels at where you teach, people who come to you where they're already at, but then there are people who reach out to you also, but then you have to, there is a gap that you're not able to bridge it yourself. You have your constraints. Now, let's say to people listening out there, who are trainers, probably English trainers, I see this as an opportunity. It could be a gap, it could be a very nice feeding system of sorts, maybe. Or um, as a trainer, let's say if somebody is coming to you and you say that, what, you need to get up here, only from there I can take you. But then, what do you have a plan in mind or an approach that you could probably share it to teachers that they can help these people fill that gap?
So of course, Jagmohan, everybody has the right to, aspire and want to be where they, desire to be. And so all these competitive exams are taken to go abroad to either do your
Right,
master's or to do your MBA or to do an undergrad. Now we also need to realize that if they're going to be in a pool of such people, no,
right,
communication will be important.
right.
English is our uniform, language across, which binds us all together. So one thing is given, and all these competitive exams have two subjects only: maths and English.
Okay,
Okay, so they're naturally most of the times good with math, It's the
Okay.
English. And so our Indian kids, unless they're really like, this age with IB education, IGCSE, where they've left math in class 8, then they struggle with math. Otherwise,
Hmm.
us Indians, they're good with their maths.
Okay.
It's the English they struggle with, because English in these competitive exams is very different from
Right.
the English that we've learned. So,
Right.
I did a CBSE education. I was given the Renan Martin and I was doing the grammar from there.
Right.
We were reading the Shakespeare if you were doing the ICSE.
Yeah.
But GMAT and GRE and SAT, they have multiple choice and you have to read and interpret also strategies, timing, everything. So that's the technicality. Now, for someone, who's not really read in English or who's not studied in an English medium school, no, the problem is, Jagmohan, that they take time to interpret.
Right.
They're reading a passage, no, so they will understand it, but they need a little more time than someone who's well
Right.
versed with the language. And
Right.
all these competitive exams are very stringently time bound. So
Right.
you have to finish 36 questions in 65 minutes, which is insane, which is crazy.
Okay.
So you have little less than 2 minutes per question. And for someone who's not well versed with the language, to be reading, comprehending, then all the options also that you're reading, it is challenging. So
Right.
for other trainers or for these students themselves, the only way is that, start a little early. So suppose
Hmm.
so when you need the GMAT is after you finished your graduation,
Right.
either with WorkX if you want to do an MBA, or you apply immediately if you want to do a master's.
Right.
Let's assume there's an engineering student who's
Yeah.
in the second year.
Yeah.
He wants to do a master's, because a lot of engineers, they want to do an MSc or something. I want to go abroad to do a master's. So
Yeah.
one recommendation would be start early.
Right.
Second, GMAT, English is also, I say, science. You
Hmm.
have to have
Okay.
strategies of eliminating. You necessarily don't have to be very smart. You can, quickly read and eliminate. So reading skills, of course, so the more you read, I think that's a cliche, which anybody and everybody will tell you, that the only way to work in a language is reading.
Right.
Watching English movies, Jagmohan, watching your podcast, watching anything which is with subtitles also, maybe. I think the best way to learn language is also, if you visually watch. And
Right.
that's how you learn a foreign language also. If I'm learning Mandarin, my teacher tells me that watch Chinese movies. so
Right.
so one, you have to get acquainted to the language. Second, of course, start speaking in that language. Even if you're not comfortable, start flaunting the language. And the more you read, the more you listen, the more you speak, the
Right.
more you develop. So at least give yourself, start early, give yourself some years. Either the trainer should also train you, handhold you with
Yeah.
telling you material, what to read, and then, sitting and discussing conversations as much as you can with English. Get hold of a buddy whom, you could speak with. And once you feel that, you're developing the comfort, get hold of somebody who can specifically, tutor you for these competitive exams and help you make the strategies and cut out the noise, tell you, okay, we have to focus and do this. Because the English is vast, Jagmohan. So if one
Yeah.
has to learn English and then crack these competitive exams, if you were asking me, that, how do these kids crack the competitive exam if they've not had like a urban English education? I would say it's only like, spend a year and a half, like watching, listening, talking, and then get hold of somebody who just knows this and is able to kind of make you, just do these 36 questions, give you strategies on how to crack these, and, then try and maximize. Because otherwise, it's a lifetime, it's a process. I don't think one can do this overnight.
Absolutely. I mean, any language for that matter, right? Unless it is your native tongue, I don't think nobody's gonna get there with another language unless probably you've grown up in Kolkata where Bengali is the most spoken. Probably you might, even though at home you may not speak that, you might speak that language better than a lot of other non-Bengali people,
Correct.
and it applies the same.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is
If you go and see the stats, the Chinese
right.
are doing so well on the GMAT and they don't know
Okay.
English. Okay, because then, they just give themselves that window of 6 months, 8 months where they just go like, hardcore into those and
Ah,
like, trying and acing that with practice and practice and practice and practice. So at least if you're talking about these kind of competitive exams, it's a niche, as in these can also be done. So of course it's not as if I get all the students who are only urban, because now, post
right.
pandemic it's very online. So I'll tell you post what happened after I joined the coaching center. I'll come back to that story also. But now, my classes are completely online, so then I have kids
Right.
from the US plus also somebody from Aurangabad or in Indore.
Right.
The range is from a three tier city to, like, I'm looking at America or Canada or Australia or Dubai. Students are from all over. So we don't realize our thinking language is English, but so someone coming from Indore or Kanpur, may have a thinking language as Hindi, and may
Correct.
not have had the circle, to speak in English
Right.
again. But with training, with like just concentrated training for 6 months, they can also do very well. So it's not as if someone who only knows English can do well in these competitive exams. Obviously,
Right.
it's a little more of hard work and a little more of effort for students who don't naturally speak in English. That's all.
Right. No, it's a very, very hopeful thing for people, who think they've missed out on a lot of things just because they didn't have a chance to grow up in a tier one or a tier two city. As when you took the example of a Chinese, people doing really well despite not knowing much of English, you're saying that there is a formula that can be applied to
Yes.
crack at the end of the day.
Yes.
You just put 6 months of concerted effort and you should get
Yes,
there.
it is absolutely a technique based exam, and there is a formula, there is a process. Once you crack it,
Right.
it's just a cakewalk then.
You just have to know some basic English to get here from
Yeah,
there
I
from the
said
city
this English art is actually a science in the GMAT.
in the GMAT especially.
Yeah.
Got it. And you were talking about how it was when you joined the coaching center and how the pandemic obviously changed a lot of things. Of course, people were looking at online education probably in the start of 2010. I think Coursera is that website, the massive open online courses platform, which kind of, gave everybody something to think about online. But then pandemic is the time when people, started jumping into it. They had no choice. So then before pandemic, there are people who out of choice started doing it. You started way back, I think it's been 15 years, if I'm not wrong. You've been
Yeah,
training.
so I was with this coaching center in Kolkata in 2005, Jagmohan, from
Right.
2005. But I was freelancing with them over the weekend. So I had not quit my full time. So I was doing,
Because you're still working with CTS.
yes.
Right.
So I was doing this out of passion over the weekends. Gradually, I started realizing that I'm really loving this.
Right.
And that's when I decided, let us quit, this full time and let me get into coaching full time as a trainer, as a teacher. I
Right.
joined them full time, all 7 days a week. But fortunately, these GMAT takers are generally work ex people, people who are working.
Right.
So I would get more weekend batches or early mornings, evenings, which would give me a little more time to, ponder, think, work on myself, train myself better to become a trainer.
Right.
I said, look, if this is something which I'm liking and this is my passion, why don't I take this risk and why don't I
Right.
look at this as a full time profession? Till before that, Jagmohan, I'd never toyed with the idea of becoming a teacher. I
Okay.
always kept thinking that this is going to be something which I'll just continue doing, as in I was associated with a few NGOs and I thought that I'm just going to continue teaching there. But my profession is going to be into, like, IT job, etc.
Right.
So that's when I sat back and I said, look, we can try and take a risk right now. I'm young. If it
Right.
doesn't work out, I can always go back to, one of these companies. So I think,
Right.
I took the plunge. In 2006, I said, look, I'm putting down my papers. I want to do this full time. I
Right.
joined this coaching center full time. So till 2007 mid, I was there, and that's when my husband had to switch cities. So I was married and I was in Kolkata, but he had to move to Bombay. He was in banking, so he came down. I was I still stayed back. I said, look, now I'm coaching full time, etc. I was interviewing in Bombay. Then I landed up a job here at a coaching center. So I also moved cities. I came to Bombay,
Right.
and that was 2007, and since then I've been in Bombay.
Okay.
So I was with another coaching center for 2 years, Jagmohan, and that's when I started penetrating into Bombay. So
Got it.
this center was in South Bombay. Now South Bombay is, where the the old Bombay people, the ones who, like the cream of Bombay, probably you can say. So
Okay.
there are a lot of people, who aspire in this part of the city to go abroad and study.
Right.
So there were a lot of people who were coming to the coaching center, and we kind of became friends. So I was, of course, their trainer, but I would also stay back after class and sit back and do the doubt solving, etc. So again, unknowingly, very subconsciously, I built a rapport with them, which I didn't realize then.
Right.
I think I was just extending myself and helping them out. But that somehow, kind of kept building my name, and people started recognizing me, again, without my knowledge. That
Word of mouth.
people started joining the coaching center, saying that, okay, so there is this teacher who teaches and she goes beyond and will sit back, etc. So this was again, all as in, this was not conscious, so this was all happening very organically.
Right.
2009 is, Jagmohan, when I delivered my baby. So I
Okay.
have a son, Agastya, and he was born in 2009. And my plan was that I took a maternity leave, and I said that, look, I'm just going to join back after 3 months. So
Right.
I'll just go on a maternity leave. Now, luck by chance, I was on my leave and I started getting calls from students, whom I'd met at this coaching center, saying that, ma'am, we know you can't travel, you can't come. Can we start coming over? I said,
Mm.
yeah, please, of course, why not? As in, I would probably sometimes not even charge them, if they were students at that coaching center. I said, yeah, just come over because I can't step out,
Right.
and I'll help you with your doubts. And it was purely that, Jagmohan, and before I could know, the word of mouth spread, and then I had students coming from, HR College and Jahan College. These are all colleges in South Bombay.
Right.
And then, there somebody would recommend me to some cousin or some friend or some friend's sibling. And 2010 onwards, as in, without effortlessly, I think, would touch. It's been all luck. And of course, as in, by, the students have been really, really kind, that I started getting students and they started coming over. And that's when I, woke up one day and said, look, I can't handle this. I'll have to make a structure to this, because,
Right.
as in, it was just random, anybody was coming at any time. And from there, I started creating batches. But for the next 5 years, 6 years, Jagmohan, as in, I was just into teaching naturally. There were students who were inquiring, then they were coming over, and it all just started with zero marketing
Right.
and zero content development from my end.
Right.
Yeah, I was just delivering, I was just explaining, I was just teaching. And before I knew, these students were going all over. And then, that's was like, I woke up and I said, look, I found my purpose. It was like, that kind of a moment, because it's so gratifying to see them, like, get what they want. And see, it's huge, I think, Jagmohan, if you think that, everybody aspires to be in one of the Ivy Leagues. And
Right.
what stops you is a good GMAT score. Of course, you need the whole profile and everything. So I suddenly realized that, this was huge, and there was a lot of need for this. There's a lot of potential. And plus, it is very, very gratifying that, if that score, if you can bring up a, student from an X level to a good score, and which can get him into a college of his dream,
Right.
his career is made, as in his life is made, as in what
Yeah.
more do they want? So
Yeah.
then I started, like, so still I was not marketing because there was no time. And like we were chatting, for someone who's doing it all by yourself, it's very challenging, because I think one only wants to focus on quality of delivery.
Right.
As an even till date, as an, I don't want this to get diluted in any form.
Right. Right.
So, and so nobody else can do this for me. So the teaching I only have to do. The minute I kind of, compromise on this, I will never be happy with, what I'm doing, because it all started as a passion. So,
Got it.
so I have to be very honest to this. So there was still no marketing. But 2019, I at least started, like, creating database, reaching out to students, probably getting a little more active on LinkedIn. That
Right.
And then, March pandemic hit, and since then, Jagmohan, it was no looking back. Absolutely. So this was offline batches. Students were coming
Right.
over. I had obviously, formalized it a little. So, batch number one, 7 to 9 in the morning a.m. Batch two. So there were working people who would want to come early mornings, late evenings, weekends. Those who were in
Right.
colleges would come after college. Those who were in family businesses or would have taken a sabbatical, they would come mid morning.
Right.
So, so that I divided the batches like that. Then again, I had people coming from suburbs. So I stay in South Bombay, and Bombay, if you understand, is huge, and there's
Right.
traffic. But people would travel for an hour, hour and a half, and come over, which now
Right.
seems very stupid to us. In fact, we do get on call with these students, and we sometimes joke that, why were we doing this like that?
Right.
Post pandemic, now we talk. So then when pandemic hit, Jagmohan, so like overnight, 20th March, I know we announced lockdown. 22nd March, I was on Zoom. So even before the pandemic, like you said, some people were doing it out of choice. So I
Yeah.
was doing a little bit of online, but obviously it was not this structured. So I was more on
Right.
Skype. or I would do on a WhatsApp video, or there were mostly students, no, who would suppose, they're in the US doing an undergrad. They've come to Bombay in December. So they would come and do like a crash course with me and then go back, and I would just do a doubt solving with them over Skype or a WhatsApp video, or they would send me their doubts on mail and I would revert. But obviously it was not this, easy. So once I came on Zoom, then another world opened because Jagmohan, so far there was this logistical barrier that there were only students from, so earlier there were only South Bombay. Then
Yeah, right,
outspread, it was all over Bombay. But now again the world had opened. So I had people from Canada, and at the same time I had people from Calcutta. I had people from New Jersey, but I also had somebody from New Jalpaiguri. So it was again, because students who had come to me, and again everybody was home, so they thought it was great opportunity to study,
right.
even if it was work from home. They said, and this course are valid for 5 years.
Oh, great. Okay.
So when everybody at my home was relaxing in the pandemic, I was the most busy because suddenly there was an influx where they said that, look, let's study and keep the GMAT. Where will we again get this opportunity? So let's keep this core. And that was the game changer for me, the second game changer, Jagmohan. So one was like, quitting my full time, getting into a coaching center. Second change,
Right,
this work from home, which could happen for me in terms of like, offline students coming over. I never went back to the center then.
right.
So I had become an entrepreneur without realizing that. And the third big shift happened in the pandemic, when
Pandemic.
so in fact before the pandemic, the flow had started increasing of students, that we had started looking for a coaching center that
Wow. Okay.
looks at almost finalized a physical coaching center when pandemic hit.
Okay.
Obviously, then that plan did not execute, and thankfully, so now I,
Thankfully, so, right?
yeah, there was no need at all.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
And so then, during the pandemic, I created this brand called VerbalUp by Aditi Chamaria. So everybody knows me as my, with my name.
Right,
If people inquire that, okay, I want to know of a GMAT personal verbal tutor, so then they say, oh, reach out to Aditi Chamaria. So I said, look, Aditi Chamaria is great. Okay, but like we were speaking, Jagmohan, I wanted to also integrate into this, English for all.
right, right, right,
Go top down. So right now, probably my forte, my niche is GMAT, and I'm doing that. But looking forward, I want to build a team so that we can create this English for all, and so that we bridge that gap we were speaking about. That everybody then has the right to education abroad also, and then they don't feel so like not so confident. So then I said, verbal up, let's make it. And it's only very recently that, I've made the website. Now you can go and schedule on that, and, the social media and the content is getting developed. Now, like, I'm getting a little into marketing and all, because I want to now take it to the next level, because I can see that, there is a need. And I know I can do it because, students have been kind and they've like, told me that, Aditi, I think, as in you can cater to more. So
got it.
yeah, so to scale, one has to go a little professional and take help of tech, I think.
Exactly, Aditi. I mean, this is, what very interesting because you pointed out on some of the key issues today, right? I mean, see, I'm going to go back to the point, where you had a shift from your full-time job, but a couple of points that also I'd like to discuss with you is, becoming an entrepreneur was one stage, right? That's what probably a lot of people aspire today. Who do not like working, but then there are different kinds of entrepreneurships, and then yours is one kind of an entrepreneurship where it's mostly solo, and then you have this problem of scaling up because your brand is because of Aditi's hard work. You've done all that thing. Now bringing in other people, you need to make sure the quality doesn't dilute. Only then VerbalUp is also going to be on that level that it is today. So it's sort of a situation where there needs some problem solving, because come on, we don't stop at anywhere, right? You wanted to become an entrepreneur, you became, but there is also the aspect of growing bigger, making more money, having those aspirations of growing bigger and bigger, which is absolutely wrong. Sorry, not wrong. But before we talk about these things, I wanted to ask you something. I think it might probably, throw some perspective to people out there. You were working in CTS. Today, a lot of affluent people come from the IT background. they're all working in one of these companies, right? Be it Infosys. I'm not trying to say that they are the cream now. There are a lot of other companies, but it's not bad, especially back in early 2000s. I think Cognizant, Infosys, Wipro, and TCS. I think these four were the top companies, and people would get deployed and they would go on site and stuff like that. Now, how did you manage to take a decision where you quit a job in CTS and then get into training? Of course, passion is one thing, but how did your family react? How easy or difficult was it? What was your thought process?
No, it is very easy, Jagmohan, surprisingly. See, I think,
Okay.
why I think, it's all to do with younger, no responsibilities. See, if today I have
Uh,
to quit this and, somebody says, let's do that, I will say, no, I can't, this is my security blanket. So I'm very
right,
secure to do it. But I was very secure then, Jagmohan. I think it all comes with age. So,
right,
so I was younger. Also, I think, where it comes from is that at that moment, you're like, I'm not the breadwinner.
right, right,
I can experiment right now. And like I said, that the family took to it well. I come from a very Marwadi fibered. They're very, very like they love entrepreneurship. So
right.
working for someone else does not come naturally to them. So
Uh,
I think secretly they would have been happier that, ha, chalo, she's going to teaching, which is a very like, a woman's thing without realizing that, as in, this is something which I can really build to another level.
right,
So I think, secretly they would have been happy. They would have just told me, look, yeah, so you're sure, no, you've done computer engineering, you've done this for 4 years and you're okay to quit. But I think I didn't think so much. For me, it was like, let's see, let's do this. If not, I can always get back. I was not at
right,
all insecure. Then, of course, once I started enjoying teaching, I never questioned, whether I can do well or not. And I think so of course, I do attribute this a lot to luck and being at the right place at the right time, because
right,
there were not too many verbal coach. Even today, you don't see a lot of verbal tutors for GMAT, GRE, again. If you try and do a little bit of research, you will see there are a lot of maths teachers, but
right,
you will not find a lot of private verbal teachers. But
right,
then I, kind of did a lot of hard work. As in, I was sitting back with students for long hours. I said, no cap on the hours. You join me and you're there with me till you get your score. So it
got it.
wasn't like a 20-hour course, 30-hour course. I was working really hard on them. And I think that's paid off. But I think the key to leaving jobs and starting, so of course, the startup culture we see now, but then it was a no brainer for me.
Got it. No, totally. Because when you were 24, 25, right, there is a certain mindset. And as you rightly said, there were not many responsibilities. And so it may not have even been a very major digression from what you were already doing with CTS. As you said, people listening out there, if they're in their early 20s, the best time to kind of make such radical changes is probably when you're not too old enough, where you have too much of responsibilities, that you're comfortable with your existing thing, because known devil is better than an unknown one.
Yes, in long
Um,
term, Jagmohan, I wake up every day very happy. And my grandfather would
right.
always tell me, I think a lot of us have heard that you have to enjoy what you're doing, otherwise
Yeah.
you can't do it for a long time. So I can feel that, you enjoy talking to people, knowing about them, getting to know about new people and, what they do, etc.
Yeah.
So therefore you're doing this. So I think it's very important. I get to meet so many new kids now. So I'm of course much older than where I was. But so I never feel so old because I'm always interacting with them. They
Yeah.
about their
Yeah.
breaks. They tell me about the place where they go to party. So there's so much of vibrant energy. Also, kind
Right.
of exams you need to study for 3 to 6 months. So it's not like an
Right.
academic
Right.
year that they're not there for me with me for a full year. So
Right.
then there are constantly new people who are coming in, so there's a lot of energy, and I just love what I'm doing. And there's so many, good friends I've made amongst this community. They all the time help me with my, because, if I want to develop tech, I want to develop content, they're always there for me. They keep telling me, how you can upskill Aditi, do this, do that, etc. So it is a lot of fun, it's never been a task.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
God willing, I was able to follow my passion. So I have a lot of friends, who were studying with me, Jagmohan, then they went on to do IT, but now, now they feel a burnout and they say, how can we do something which you're doing? And I do try and help them out with a lot of things, if I know in the industry, if there's a math teachers, if they can teach math, I kind of recommend, I try and help. But of course, the advantage I had was that I started early.
Got it. Looking back, I see your journey in, two important things. Of course, you moving from CTS to training is one thing. But let's say, just for me, my perspective, I'm still looking at it like a job shift, but you change your domains. That's fine. But then apart from that, the time that you delivered your baby, you had to take maternity leave, and I think that's a very pivotal point, because I don't think you ever went back to any center after that. Students started coming in search of you, so that was your first stage of entrepreneurial experience.
Totally.
And then a second important thing was the lockdown, where you transitioned from face to face classes to online classes. Now, I'm going to definitely talk to you a lot more about online shortly, because that's what is relevant for today. But I'd like to know, your story. I know that you did not consciously make a decision that, I do not want to go to centers, I want to start my own thing. It just happened, it just fell into place. And you know what? Interesting thing is, a lot of people that I speak to, a lot of successful ones, never really planned anything. It just fell into place. And I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I'm happy for them, but you can't really explain a method to others looking out there. It's a little less hopeful. Oh, you know what? I wish there was a method to this madness. But I think that's why they say just follow your passion or whatever it is, and then probably that itself is a method in it. So what was that entire process, and then what point did you realize, okay, you know what, knowingly or unknowingly I've become an entrepreneur? And then when did you start structuring? How did you What changes did you have to make? Because uh, basically my question is this, right? When you go to a training center, everything is organized for you. You go, train, come back. Now compare that with a situation where you are the center and you are the trainer. What are the changes that you had to kind of bring in?
See, again, Jagmohan, again, my dad keeps telling me this, that you don't have to teach a fish how to swim. See, I again go back to my genes. That please realize, okay, that the Marwadis and the Gujaratis, they don't have
Okay,
this thing
okay.
for entrepreneurship. So, so now because it's online, a lot of times when I'm in Calcutta and I'm at my dad's house
Right,
and I'm teaching or I'm doing trials, he tells me that there is a subtle Aditi entrepreneurship marketing, okay, which you kind of don't realize that his
right,
perspective, he's been in business and I've seen him, I've grown up in a family of entrepreneurs. So maybe it comes naturally. So I would always tell him, so he runs a factory, I would always tell him that, pass on, when I was a kid, that pass on the factory to me. But his is like, very labor intensive. He does these iron pellets for wagons and for, like, this
right,
fabrication. So
right,
I would always say to her, I don't want to go to school. I want to go to a factory. And he would say that, no, this is not for girls. It's very, like, it's very labor intensive. You have to deal with all men laborers and, you have to stay up the night or you have to coordinate with them. You will not be able to do it. But I was very interested. I would wait for him to come back and, I would want to speak to him about the issues, what happened in the factory. So see, as in one thing I now know, Jagmohan, which I had not, like this unknowingly, that probably, this thing was there to be off on your own and do
right,
something. I now feel that, I was doing a coaching center because it was safe. You develop your experience there. And again, like you said, everything is done for you. So probably I would have gathered like the know-how and then would have branched out on my own, but I would not have done that early. I would have still
right,
had a child, let me again be in a comfortable spot. Let me 2 years continue doing, the coaching center till he's a little, he can handle himself. And then probably
right,
I will start thinking. It happened a little sooner, fortunately. And when it started happening, and when I started getting these students coming home, and I had very, very, again, fortunately, very, very high profile kids coming in initially only
right,
from South Bombay, of course. As in now we also have to. I have such high profile clients that I'm also signing NDAs with them because I can't disclose, because
oh
again a
wow,
very coveted exam, because you then land yourself into one of the top league colleges. So then there are all kinds of people. And they were actually from the dean's family. So there was one who was a dean of a college, and her son was coming to me. And so of course then they spread the word in the college, etc. And then all the students from that college was coming. When the dean's son is coming, they automatically, it becomes like a subtle marketing.
Yeah.
So I realized, Jagmohan, that once you start enjoying something so much, and obviously the money has to come. As
Right.
enjoyment cannot come purely out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
passion, it has to. And when it's a good combination of both, and of course you have the right intent, and you have to have the interest of the students. It cannot be a
Right.
selfish venture, then it's not long lasting. And see, it can't be all just pump and show. So you can't be doing marketing, you can't be like in the face, but if you don't deliver quality, then it's not sustainable. It can
Right.
only sustain if you're quality, but being an entrepreneur, I think, is not difficult. As in, now I find it more challenging with the volumes, and therefore I want to enable it with tech and with other things, because like I said, I don't want to dilute quality, so I don't want to have somebody else. I want to just clone myself, for which probably recordings, etc. So that's the next
Right.
stage we'll come to. But it has been a very natural progression and a fun one. It's been really
Right.
fun, so it's not been difficult at all. Content structure, delivery, everything comes in, Jagmohan. If you have a little bit of interest, aptitude, intent, all of them can be done. And it's even more easy now than when I ventured, when I started, because there's so many things to help you. You have reminders, you have calendars, you have schedulers, you have note making apps, you have delivery apps, you record, you voice something, it's converted into text. So everything is so much so easier. We were more of a pen paper generation.
Right.
So it is a fun journey, and I would tell anybody and everybody that if you have a passion and if you think you can, you must become an entrepreneur, and start
Got
early,
it.
probably, if you can.
Got it. As someone who's transitioned at least 2 to 3 times, I see, probably transitioning during the lockdown was one of the most significant times for a lot of people out there. And, I would like, you to address these set of people right now. They're training for other academies, as a trainer. And I'm sure they have thoughts at least once every single day, those who want to. I mean, not, I'm not saying everybody, whoever does, but then for whatever reasons they are not able to branch out and start something on their own, and probably catch up to all the opportunities that are available for them to take. So, as a trainer who's working for a company, who goes to a center, who teaches, and if they want to, utilize this online infrastructure, the online opportunity that is there, what would you tell them? Where should they start off from,
So I think,
Aditi?
Jagmohan, each to its own. A lot of people have circumstances because of which, as in maybe it was easy for me to kind of quit because I was younger, I was not responsible. Then later again, it was easy because students surged and they came over. But of course, it can be for some people they can't just leave a center and take that risk of sitting back, and what if they don't get people. And all of us go through these phases of insecurities, because we're a service industry.
Right.
Today I have volume, tomorrow what if I don't?
Right.
So that's always going to be there. One is, of course, keep your full time, I say, if you want to,
Okay.
and
Okay.
start building network with students there. And if they can,
Right.
refer friends to you who can, like, so get into a hybrid, maybe, that you keep in your full time, but if you can also, like, part time coach people online, so that that phase you can kind of build your confidence that no, I'm getting this chunk of people also, who are my own,
Right.
and then I'm also getting my regular little pay, whatever I want, and that security is there. Second, recommendations today, Jagmohan, go a long way. If you can take
Right.
recommendations on LinkedIn or Google or your page, so just create your presence online and start taking recommendations from students, even of those who are coming from the center. So see, one no brainer is that you have to be good at your job.
Of
that
course. Yeah.
that I'm assuming, so for someone who's good and for someone who is
Yeah.
liked by students and you're delivering, so then students are also very, very open to giving recommendations. They're very, they're nice people. They do want to praise you if you've helped them. So take
Right.
recommendations, build your network, start with a hybrid where probably, and you test waters. You also see, so when they're coming in personally, obviously you charge less than what the center's charging maybe. And, kind of attract people. And then if you see that your students are coming in, you will definitely, be able to make that transition and come
Got
full
it.
time on your own platform.
Got it. The the key takeaway for me is, if I have to kind of rephrase whatever you said, it's about having testimonials and building a brand around it. People at which point you really don't have to do anything. The 20 students that you've already taught in the past, what they talk about you is going to bring you more students, and then that kind of
And that is the
goes
only
on as well.
marketing, Jagmohan, which works in my experience and how.
Right.
So you do whatever, you spend crores and do your marketing, okay? But if you're not good, you will not last long because the student community is very woke now. Also, they
Yeah.
know everyone. They've spoken to everybody. They have spoken to seniors, siblings, etc. So they're not as stupid as we were, when we were younger. So they're
Right.
very, very intelligent, and they will only go to the best now, and the best in terms of not like the brand also, the best who can deliver.
Right.
And if they find someone like that, no, they're very, very kind and generous.
Happy to
And then,
share with
yeah,
you.
and then they, so they're not very discreet, or they'll not be very, sly about not telling whom they've gone to, etc.
So I think, even though this might come across very basic and simple, I think it is a little underrated, at least for people who are listening. If you're a trainer, be it any subject, and if you want to scale up, and if you've had a good experience with a student, I think it's very important to have it in record somewhere on the internet. There's nothing more valuable than that. No amount of paid marketing is going to help you, is what uh, you know is, at least I'm trying to understand. And I think that's been one of your ways of to come wherever you have so far.
Yes, and again, this was again subconscious. I didn't know until only recently. I didn't know that when people give recommendations, no, so other students not only read the recommendations, but they also reach out to those students, personally.
Wow.
That okay, so I
Hmm.
saw your recommendation as an is Aditi really good, and that's when they get talking, and so most of the times when the student has called me Jagmohan, he or she has already made up the mind.
Already.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right,
I am
right.
thinking that I need to give a trial. I need to kind of convince, but they're already convinced.
Wow. I mean, these are subtle things that have been working for your sales, and it saved you, I'm sure, a lot of time and effort from direct selling, making cold calls or making calls or running campaigns and stuff like that. Great. Now, coming to another topic for me, this is one of the most challenging ones for a lot of solopreneurs today, is scaling up. Okay, I've built a brand. Now is where, I want to grow from 1x to 10x. You want to like increase your revenue by 10x. Now, I'm sure you've thought about this. How do you, what plans do you have in place to solve this, Aditi? What are your thoughts on
Absolutely a
this?
right question because this is where I am right now, Jagmohan. This is
Right.
absolutely where I am. Okay, so great. I have years of experience now. I've created a brand. Students love me. I love students. I love my job. I've been able to send students to the top few. So all of that is there, but I only have so much time.
Right.
And also, I'm also a little scared of burnout now that, I've been doing.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm going to interrupt. Before we get into this topic, no, let's get some numbers out so that we have a lot of context here also. Now, so far, from your experience, in a batch, do you just do one-on-one, or do you also do a
So I
batch
have two
of
formats,
students?
Jagmohan. One is a one-on-one, another is a batch, but of maximum four people.
Ha. So the reason I'm talking about this is because we're talking about scalability, right? So this is definitely one of the things that we need to know. What
Yeah,
you
so far, Jagmohan, I've been known to give like, a lot of attention. So
right,
people come to me when they want. So, you have a lot of videos online. So there are various formats of this coaching. Okay. So there are few players who've just like put in online videos. You can subscribe, you can get like 3 months, of the videos, and you can learn at your own pace and time. Then there's,
right,
big classroom coachings. So you have these big coaching centers which will have 50 students,
right,
60 students, and you can go there and, you can sit and do. And the third format is a little bit of my format. One is a one-on-one, and the second is a small batch. So that even if it
okay,
is not as expensive as a one-on-one, but still it's not like 50 people. So we get that
right.
kind of an attention. So I am known in the space, so everybody has their own niche and own style of like teaching or, functioning. My functioning has always been, this kind of small batches and one-on-one. And that is why probably, Jagmohan, I've got a lot of love and warmth because in
Right.
smaller batches it's easier to kind of develop connects. Of course, now it's become more transactional, the online format. But when there were offline batches, there would be students who would actually just break down in class because they've had a breakup, or they've had something with their parents and they're not in that zone, and I just like sit down and I'm
Right.
like, you're not okay today. And so we've really developed deep
There was a bond
yes.
more than just teaching. Yeah.
Yes, but of course now it's transactional. But like so rightly asked that what is the batch size or how many students, and therefore we're looking at scalability. So I know that I'm doing one on one or like 4 to 1, but there is immense scope, Jagmohan, as into scale.
Got it.
So and therefore maybe the question that how do we go beyond this now?
Yeah. Now, so what is your 1 hour worth
Uh,
right now?
so anywhere between like 5,000 to 6,000.
5,000 to 6,000 rupees. Got it. So your one-on-one, whatever, right? I mean, whatever you earn, sorry, whatever you earn, I'm sure, when you have 4 students, there is a higher opportunity for you to make more revenue from that 1 hour. But do you also try and make it a point to not go below when you're doing one-on-one also? Or do you make some compromises?
No, so see, one on one is, maybe not as much as like a batch, but like it does, still come close to it.
Close
Among
to
the
it,
kind
right?
of students I'm catering to, I have to have the one on one format because, like I said, for some, I have to sign the non disclosure.
Right,
So
right,
they
right,
will
right.
never come into a batch. So
Got it.
because and again in that space we don't have too many people, so they can't go to a Manhattan coaching center or a Princeton coaching center. They need someone who's there with them personally, one on one. So it could be
Right,
either very senior people in corporate structures because they've had like 10 years, 12 years of experience and they want to do an executive MBA, they need to take this. Or they could be very very senior industrialists, or like senior industrialist kids. So
got it.
for them there's a one on one. Also there are some students who are very weak, Jagmohan, and they know it, and they
Right.
come to me saying that, look, I don't want to spoil the batch structure, but I can afford you as a one on one, so let's go one so that you can
Hmm.
time and effort.
Got it, Aditi. And do you think there is a market out there, Because, see, at the end of the day, not very, like 1% of the 1% trainers, top trainers in India, can probably aspire at, 5,000 rupees per hour or 4,000 rupees per hour, right? Because there is also only so many people that can pay you so much. So the so called HNIs and all these things. And being in Bombay, it does help. Because I've had people, in the SAT domain where they charge 6,000 rupees per hour and all those things, because they want, like, if somebody is able to afford
Exactly.
to do their engineering in the US, it's no big deal. But is there a market? You say there's a lot of volume right now. Is there a market like where you really have to think about, have you had to turn down people on these one-on-one because you have not had the time or the bandwidth?
Yes. So,
Has
so
it
yeah,
been a
post
situation?
pandemic, Jagmohan, I have to like, kind of turn down people. And that is when we started looking at scalability, that look, one model is for these classes, but should also
Right.
come in with a, where I can say, okay, look, I can't give you classes, but maybe you can just take the subscription for 20,000 rupees, go through all my concept videos, and maybe I can come in once in a week to help you with your doubts. And which is what we're toying with right now, and which is what we're thinking with this whole VerbalUp brand. So I'm looking at,
Great.
I'm
Okay.
talking to people, I'm like, discussing, I'm meeting people who are helping me with the LMS. There are like so many LMSs which are available for teachers nowadays. So if you
Right, right,
integrate
right.
that on the website, if I can just record content and upload and probably give it for a subscription to some students, whom I can't take all. So maybe.
Right. So you've already moved on and you're in the transition phase, where you're offering the subscription
Yes,
also,
so there are very
apart from
active discussions which are happening where I am doing what
okay.
I'm doing. So also for us, Jagmohan, March till November is like peak season. So most now start enrolling, and so January, February, I did get some time to sit, ponder, structure, and I'm growing my team now. So I've hired a couple of people. I've hired a business head now. So it's
Okay.
no longer like because I've realized that if I can't outsource teaching, but I'll have to outsource the other things now.
Right. So you've identified that teaching is your USP that cannot go out of your hands. but a lot of other things can be outsourced, and that is one way you're looking at scaling up by hiring others to do a lot of other things that you'd be doing yourself
Correct.
before,
Like the
right?
social media, the website, in fact, maybe, in the future, blogging. And then mostly, now, like, integrating it on the website, putting it on the website, all of this, like my videos I will record, the concepts I have, the teaching I will do. But those other things, maybe if I can, take help from people and hire them and make them do it for me, I think that's the only solution. So I've had these a lot of self talk, a lot of thinking aloud kind of conversations, Jagmohan. I realized that the only way to grow is either have teachers with you as a team.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I just can't let go of that. I tried, but I can't let anybody teach that for me, because I never feel that they will be able to teach it like how I'm teaching it. So that said, that
Right.
the only way to create multiple Aditis is to have, like, videos, so that the repetition is cut down, there's more effectiveness, and therefore we look at scalability. I think that's the whole idea which has germinated, and we are trying to work on that.
Got it, Aditi. Great. Looks like you're already, on your way to scale up, because automating this entire process. And I think at one point, the purpose of an entrepreneur also, right? The ultimate dream is to entrepreneurs start off working 18 hours a day for so little money, because they have to put their time and effort and grow something and stuff. And then eventually an entrepreneur dreams of a time when the roles reverse. They don't have to work 18 hours, but they work only 2 hours, but then they get so much more exponentially because they put in all the work. Now, coming to your thing, as a trainer, it's a little different. For you, teaching is the USP. Your presence is very much needed. Let's say you've been working for 14 hours, 12 hours and stuff. Do you also, sometimes think of, hey, you know what? The whole point is for me to spend lesser hours, probably work for just 2 hours and make the same kind of money that I'm making now.
Yeah, so it
Is that
started coming in lately, Jagmohan, and especially peak season when I'm like completely occupied. And my son has now gone to boarding school. He's only 13,
right?
but he's in boarding now. So when he comes
Right.
down and I have to be teaching for, 8 hours, 10 hours, I'm like, can I keep doing this forever? You know,
Yeah.
if I fall sick sometimes, if my throat has gone away,
Yeah.
that's when, and 2 days of not teaching, 3 days of not taking classes, brings in the pressure to the next week where I'm making
Right.
up.
Right.
So
Right.
those are the times, when I question my efficiency also, that, will I be able to be this
Right.
efficient? Also, life keeps happening, Jagmohan. So, I'm
Yeah.
at an age where, family also, parents, etc., somebody may just fall sick and I need to be there. So that's when I actually think that, and there was this very interesting conversation I had with a friend, and he told me that, you always have to see your work as, if there's a big red bus, which goes on you, like you die in an accident, will your work still continue? I said, no, I am dead,
Yes.
it is just is dead. And
Yeah.
that's when this struck me that, maybe I need to develop a product. It cannot be Aditi
Right.
Chamaria anymore. And that's why VerbalUp came up. That, and
Great.
also, again, somebody else told me that, Aditi, you were spending 90% of your time on your craft and 10% on your business. But it's time to now kind of make it 70-30, eventually for 50-50, and then maybe 30-70, where 30% is craft,
Yeah.
70% is business. And I'm like, wow,
Business.
if I can make more money and give it less time, then why not? As in, that's the most desirable situation.
Great. I mean, you've started on that journey, and I think the first step is, as you rightly said, you are a services kind of a business, and you want to kind of make it into a product. Now, obviously, there is a reason why people are shelling out so much money, and they want that one-on-one thing, right? Now, I know that obviously 100% is not replicable. You can't convert this service into a product, but you're already doing it. How much are you able to pull it off? And how, how is it, how are you trying to kind of convert from services to a non-service kind of a
So
model,
it's
Aditi?
still in process, Jagmohan. So I wouldn't say I've tried it or I've done it. I also have
Right.
insecurities that, okay, so far it was Aditi. So it's clear
Right.
that, Aditi is going to be there. She's hand holding me from the beginning till the end.
Right.
Now, when I think of this, as to is, what I'm thinking with my team is that maybe create three products. One is completely how everybody else functions. Like one is only videos, one is completely Aditi live, and one is a hybrid that, you listen to the recordings and then Aditi will kind of supplement it with her doubt solving. uh,
Got it.
so in either scenarios, I've realized that we will have to record content.
Right.
I said, okay, let's start doing that, okay, because that's a no-brainer. I will have to, kind of put in the concepts and everything in videos. Now, what I've been telling my team is that, to begin with, so that, I don't have so much of insecurity, what I can do is my students who have enrolled with me, I continue doing what I'm doing. I just supplement them with my videos.
Right.
Look, you not only get Aditi, but you also get her videos. So that, sometimes, as in a lot of times, not only sometimes, we have to repeat Jagmohan. So I taught you
Right.
something today, okay, and then I've been teaching you, and we're doing back for 10 classes later. You said, that class one, sorry, but I made notes, but I've forgotten. And I said, no
Right.
problem, I'll just teach you again. And I do teach again. So maybe
Hmm.
that redundancy we stand with. So I'm also trying to go a little slow on that to
Right.
test waters that they could have probably, so my insecurities are Jagmohan, they could probably, if everything was online and videos, they can just go to somebody else, then why will they come to Aditi? They were
Right.
coming to
Exactly.
Aditi because she was one on one. So I
Right.
said, look, if I have to test also, I have to go online. Plus, if I use an LMS, it's going to be good for my students only, because right now what I do is, a lot of email exchanges, a lot of WhatsApp exchange. So for my current students, if I can just go up on the LMS and I make announcements there, I post homework there, there are multiple choice, so the homework can get corrected there. There are certain things I can just upload as videos and audios there. So why not? Okay, so the way I'm kind of convincing myself is, look, this is just going to be aiding my students right now.
Right.
Then Jagmohan, like these students which I was turning down, maybe, or some people I couldn't take or can't take, maybe I start giving them the videos at a very affordable price. And
Right.
then just see, because of course, as an entrepreneur, you always go through these ups and downs. Will this work? Will this not work? And if you've you've created a name in a certain way, so you don't want that to be diluted. Okay, look, she's also become one of the other ones who's just like, who's just working on masses, and she's just doing this for money now.
Got it. What I see is, what comes out is that, when you have something that's working really well for you, it's easier to transition from, being nothing and then, going, because there was nothing to lose anyway. But then when you've built something over a period of more than a decade, and then suddenly, even though you're so much more successful and you have your branding and stuff like that, it's interesting the way you're talking about your insecurities, because seriously, I mean, thank you for being transparent, but I think these are very important things that people listening to must also take into consideration. It's always easy for people to say that, what, oh, this business is doing so well and stuff like that, but then they don't see what has gone on for so many years, and a lot of sacrifices, and that's how you get there. And now for you to grow bigger, you are also, there's so much of self-doubt and stuff like that.
No, we were always going through that. And again, because it's been such a personal relationship, you also don't want to let go of that. So there are days when I think, chalo, no, chodo na, let it just happen this way only. Why,
Why
create the ripple,
mess with something that's like,
create
yeah.
the chaos. And there are other days I see that, no, like, as in this can really actually scale up. So let's do that. So I think I found my in between now after a lot of conversations with various kinds of people. And my spouse has been a great support. So he keeps telling me, look, nobody's taking away from what you're doing. As in, what you're doing. Okay. Nobody's taking that away. So just do that and parallelly work on the product. No. So that,
Right.
then fits into my kind of mindset. I'm like, ha, chalo, what I'm doing stays. So don't take it
Got it,
from me,
Aditi.
because I think that's the baby I've nurtured. So I'm very protective about that. So I say, okay, let this be, and then I'm okay to, additionally work harder and, put in more hours to structure this better. So I don't mind that. So I'm in that space right now, Jagmohan. So I
Got it, Aditi.
so younger 24 me was easier to quit a full time and get
Yeah, yeah,
unknown.
exactly.
Yeah, but the 40-year-old me is not.
That is the difference that it's clearly visible right now, and it's slightly ironic. And I love, these conversations, because I think a lot of people are probably in this stage. And if you, don't mind, I'd like to share something that I think, I was just thinking when you were telling your situation. I could only think of this, and I thought, oh, Aditi can probably, try this. So in the south, I don't know about Mumbai. I've spent most of my life in Bangalore, and I've had my times outside of South India. There is a ice cream brand here called as Arun Ice Creams. So Arun Ice Creams company is Hatson. They are the ones, under which Arun Ice Creams is there. And then we, as a family, we've always kind of stuck to Arun Ice Creams whenever we wanted to eat ice creams. And then came along a brand called Ibaco. You must have heard of Ibaco, or I don't know. In the south, it is okay. It's like kind of a premium sort of a ice cream thing. At least that's how it's positioned and marketed. And then later, at one point, he realized it was also from Hatson only. So they didn't want to disturb the Arun ice cream thing. But they were also thinking, Arun ice cream has become a brand that is more to the middle class, or, most, But I also want to, there is a market for premium segment also. Now, Hatson is thinking, you know what, I want the premium chunk also. But if they continue to do it in Arun ice cream's brand, they're probably, people are not going to look at them from a premium thing, because it's a conditioning that's happened, brand and all those things. And I was thinking, now in your case, I was wondering, it's the reverse. You've already created a premium thing, and you're looking to also cater to a larger chunk of the market. Probably just to, not worry about the brand that you already have. You should not even let people know that there is a person behind the other thing that you're trying to do, right? The courses and all those things. And you should float it in a different brand and see how it
Discreet
goes.
disguise in disguise. Unfortunately, Jagmohan, the product is ultimately the teacher. The deliverables are all the teacher. No?
Right,
So the face has to. Ice cream product, maybe you can just camouflage under a brand. But yeah, yeah,
right.
interesting that just roll a product for the masses and just.
Yeah, I don't know. It just randomly occurred to me, and I just considered, treated this as a brainstorming session for a few minutes. That's about it. Uh, Now, going back to your journey in scaling up. Obviously, the first point that you made was, which seems very natural for a lot of people, and that is how, for a lot of people, creating courses comes into picture when they want to scale up, when they want to replicate, their when they don't want to repeat their efforts and they just want to scale up. Creating courses is the first thing. So, have you already started creating courses?
So
And
actually, I'm looking for content heads now, Jagmohan. So again, because I
okay,
can only do so much. So then so content is going to be the most important aspect
right,
of teaching, because if your content is not strong and if your deliverables, are all around the content. So again, as in there's a lot of content available online. So
right,
everyone has access to material. That's not a problem. But it's the translation of the material, as in when I do something, I get this right, but I don't get this, right the next day. So sometimes in English, what happens is, Aditi, I solve a question today, I get it right, but tomorrow I may get it wrong. So to be able
got it,
to teach the process of doing that content actually is also very important. So
right,
what we're working on is content is there, pick up the best content, but then translate it for the students so that they're able to
got it,
understand it and they're able to replicate it.
got it. So when it comes to content creation, there are multiple aspects. At least from what I've spoken to you, there seems to be two important things that are standing out, right? One is, one is recording, of course. You standing in front of the camera, and so what is the method that you're using? Are you using a whiteboard thing, or are you using screen share with PPTs?
So when I'm teaching them, Jagmohan, I'm on the Zoom platform, so I use the whiteboard from Zoom.
Okay.
And when I'm solving, so I pull up the PDFs and from there the word.
No, I mean when you're recording courses,
Yeah, so PPTs.
PPTs. You share PPTs, so it is already pre-made content. The PPT comes, and then your talking head is also there
Yes, so I'm there.
in like a loom sort of a
Correct.
thing.
Yeah.
Got it. And that is how you're doing it right
Yes.
now. Okay. So you have solved the problem of creating content, meaning recording the content.
Correct.
The PPT is what you're trying to say, as you're looking for a content head who can take care of the PPTs. Is
Yes.
that
So
what you're
yeah.
doing?
So I'm just giving the written documents, on Word, and they're able to convert it on PPT also. So at the content end, they help me with that. Plus also, as in if they're able to create new content, with my guidelines.
Got
So
it.
I at least only edit, but they can do the framework.
Got it,
Creating
Aditi. If you'd like to, this is again, there are two reasons for me to place this question here, and probably talk about this.
content.
There are people out there, trainers or teachers, who are probably looking at different opportunities that are in the market. And the point that you're making about this content head is also for them to understand that, look, big now let's consider you're an academy, right? Although you're a solopreneur, you're big enough to be, you can, if you want, you can start off an academy and call yourself Aditi Charmaria Academy and stuff. And as a organization where you've come to a point of delegating things, You need services of people. And unfortunately, today, I think there are people who can offer what you want, but then there is no communication. They're not able to know that you are there. They don't know what you want and stuff like that. And when you can share this, what I'm going to ask, they will know that, okay, there is such and such a need in the market. That's another career opportunity for them. Second is probably you can use this platform to, tell what you're looking for and people might reach out to you. So when you say content head, if you can, deep dive and elaborate what exactly you're looking from them, you can, if you wish, you can use this platform.
So Jagmohan, see, what I realized is I'll just like go back a little and explain. So when I said that, look, now we need to scale, we need to take use of tech, and we need to grow, we
Right,
need to do it.
right,
So one answer was that I have to create recordings, post it there. So therefore have an LMS. So then I started looking for tech heads first. I said, look, I want someone who can help me with tech. And that's when I realized, when again the student community was generous to reach out, and they're very,
right,
they know the latest, of what is happening. So they said, look, Aditi, you don't need to develop your own tech, okay? Because there are a lot of these tech platforms which are made for teachers, academies. So where you can
right.
work. Now the copyright issues, right, Jagmohan? I can't put in every content which is, like by a company and just put it there and, record that,
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in the question. So that was one question, which we got stuck upon. So that if you're doing offline classes, sometimes, maybe I can use some printouts or some, books, etc. But, when I'm going online on a LMS, or, on my website, or if I'm recording videos, I can't be using some questions, which are by another book, another company, another public.
right,
So that's, when the question of creating content comes. Now, honestly, between you and me, Jagmohan, if I am teaching this language, no, I think I am the best person to create content. Because I
right,
know the nuances, I know where they test you, I know where they kind of, trick you, trap you. So now when I started looking for content heads, the people who worked in this sphere, who understand what these competitive exams are. So it may not necessarily be GMAT, but if even if they work with CAT or a CET coaching center and they've developed their content, no, they at least understand the multiple choice format, etc. So I have been seeking for people who understand this, so that so one may be very good with English, if
right,
does not understand the competitive exam content, then it becomes slightly difficult. So someone who
right.
understands this, and so there's, again, GMAT, if I were to explain to you, has something to do with grammar also. Few questions are grammar based, few questions are reading based, few questions are logical.
Right.
So grammar based questions are easiest to kind of create. So right now with the content here, I'm saying that, look, there are some questions for which, I can like give explanations which are from the official sources, and the official sources are okay to be, put up on a video or a website or wherever. So for that, when I'm recording, I maybe an intern can only do that, making the PPT kind of a thing and giving it to me, because the content is there already. Like the question is there, the explanation is anyways other these. So for that, I
Right.
don't need a content head. I need the content head to work on new questions, make new questions.
Make original content
Content,
basically,
yeah,
which you can call it your own,
correct.
and you will not run into copyright
Copyright
issues
issues.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that guy is going to make the content, which I will vet. Probably it will need like two, three reiterations and iterations. And even if we are able to create a database of 1,000 questions, then as in, then you can put that under a VerbalUp brand, that these are questions
Got it.
made and developed and delivered by Aditi or VerbalUp.
Got it. Interesting. And Verbal Up now, you have a team of two apart from you.
Yeah, so we have just one other person who's like an intern who's helping me with my database, with my Excels, and with maintaining the fee
Got it.
tracker and everything, and also with the PPTs and everything. And of course, now we've hired a business head who's going to
Right.
drive this whole thing, integrate the LMS into the website, and and I also have outsourced my marketing to someone, like a
Okay.
digital
That
marketing
is
company.
okay. And so when you talk about marketing, which is also one of the most important things for anybody who's running a teaching business, right? One of the biggest challenges for anybody who's in the teaching space is students acquiring new ones, right? Because teachers are great, but they're not. Most of them are not great in sales. And I was going to come to this topic. You said you've outsourced your marketing, which is great. Just to listen to you talk about it, because sometimes teachers tend to think they can do everything. They think social media sharing, no, I'll just put something, but there is a science to it, and there are experts to do just the same. And when you say that you've outsourced your marketing, Aditi, what is your thought process? What is your understanding? What do you expect from this marketing people, like as an outcome? Okay, you know what? I'm outsourcing this job to you. This is what I want. So, what is that? What you want from
So I think Jagmohan, like you rightly said, even I'm not good with marketing, and like most other teachers, I'm not a big fan of marketing. I'm not good at it. Also, I think I've realized uh,
them? Right.
because I'm not able to market to my own students. As in I've been told 10,000 times that tell your own students that get other students. I'll give you, this referral fee or whatever.
Right.
I've not been able to, kind of come to that. Even now, as in
Right.
that's my, problem spot. As in I'm not good with the even letting these guys over market me. So, as in
Hmm.
the digital marketing people. So that's just me, I think, because it's been so organic so far.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not able to put myself out there, and in the face. And probably I wouldn't have personally liked that kind of a marketing. If someone was coming me for my son and saying, "Look, I do SAT, 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 SAT," I would be like, of all the people, I'm not
Yeah.
going to go to you. So that reverse psychology of the consumer. But as in, this is something which I'm still trying to work upon myself. I've been told by a lot of people that this age you have to put yourself out there. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I would give the credit to most of my students. They've been telling me, Aditi, you can't just avoid this. This is like something you will have to embrace.
Yeah.
You have to. So, I never circulate, the posts or the reels I put to any of my student community because that's the
Right.
most natural thing to do. So, my digital marketing people have a very tough time with me. So they say, Aditi, you don't let us put numbers, you don't let us, you don't circulate your own reels and posts, how will we get likes? You never ask your students to follow you. So, those are certain things. I think, it's become so obvious. Everybody has to be on Instagram, everybody has to, pay for ads. And from everyone, I hear the same story. The Google SEOs, you have to come up on the Google search link. So you have to pay for the ads, you have to give discount codes, you have to run these programs on Mother's Day, on Children's Day, on uh,
Right.
so because I think so far, Jagmohan, it's come easy to me, so I don't value it enough. But it would be wrong for me to say that people who do this are not doing it the right way. I think you have to put yourself out there. There is no choice. Also, only so many people can know me through word of mouth.
Right. Yeah.
Want to be known, you will have to market, as in that is there. So it was very easy for me again to outsource because I said, look, I can't do this at all. Now the day you tell me to kind of make my own and become like a social media butterfly, this is going to be impossible for me. So this has to go to someone else, and they kind of now push me into it, that you have to do this, and this is how it runs, and forget it, you don't understand this, we know this business, so we will do it. So I'm like, gladly do it. But I still somewhere feel, Jagmohan, I'm still like a little old school. I still feel that over marketing does not help. As in, either you grow as big as Baiju's and then you go fuss, but at least you've made your mark for those 3 4 years. Or I
Right.
think I am a believer of slow and steady will win the race. So
Right.
go gradual, and your work will speak for you. I still am like a little conservative like that.
Got it. And with the marketing that you're saying you've outsourced and whatever is being done, what do you expect out of it? Do you expect people to come and, directly purchase or subscribe to something on your
No.
website?
So, Jaman, what we've also realized is so far the call to action is, speak with Aditi, the demo with Aditi, because,
Right.
it's all Aditi Chamaria, so that one call, even if they can set up for half an hour with me, guarantees a 90% conversion rate. Versus that,
Right.
you just go subscribe and
Right.
or, buy. So the
Right.
call to action is speak to Aditi. My only expectation, I'm not like, I don't have great expectations. My only expectations is like, just create the name, just create the ripple. So,
Got it.
at least if you're formally there in your marketing, so at least, you're seen. As in people have,
Correct.
so many times, students have reached out now, thankfully, to these marketing people that, well, I'm more visible on LinkedIn maybe, and I'm more visible on the website or the Google searches or whatever. But I still tell them that, try and find mutual connects if you can, and reach out to second, third
Right.
connect also, because the minute you hear from them about me, it's going to be easier for you to kind of enroll. So because this world is again, all connected through social media.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
and a similar age group, same cities, then definitely, people can connect with people who would know me. So I still, go back to that old method. I say, reach out to people and take a feedback, because, whatever, however impressive I may look on a trial turn, is how do you know whether you want to go ahead
Yeah, yeah,
So, as in, most of the times when they come from reference Jagmohan, it's 100% conversion rate.
yeah. As you said, they already know, they've made up their mind. They just want to do that formality talk in the start, and then they want to join.
Yeah, because it's a lot of
But
money that they're putting in and a lot of time and effort. Okay, so
yeah,
it's a one time. And 3 months later, I want to do the GMAT. They can't keep experimenting with the teacher.
correct. Yeah. And teacher student relationship is also sort of a commitment as well, because the students get used to the teacher. There's a style and everything. And there is also an unsaid responsibility on the part of a teacher or a
Oh,
trainer to
totally.
finish their engagement that they take up.
Totally, totally. So it has to be both ways. The student has to be very convinced before joining me.
Right.
Sometimes, very rarely I have cases where the parents are very convinced. So there's very little parental intervention in these kind of courses because, they're mostly 24, 25 plus, they're taking their own decisions, etc. But sometimes, parents are very eager for them to join me. And if I feel that the student does not know me enough, I'm very apprehensive. I say take 2 turns, 3 turns, just sit for my classes, but just see whether you're comfortable or not. Because even if you join me, then I'll not be able to kind of reach out to you. You will never be receptive. So the
Right.
relationship is very important also because there's a lot at stake, as in otherwise you lose a whole year. Suppose you don't get
Right.
GMAT score, then you can't apply this year, then you apply for the next year. So then there's a lot at stake. So I say you have to be fully convinced and ready to be putting in that much of an effort before you join in, please.
Got it, Aditi. So as of now, your marketing activities, the only call to action, the only outcome you're looking for those activities or sharing of posts is book a call with you.
Hmm.
That's it. You're not, you don't go to a point where your leads are coming and falling into a bucket and then you are calling out to them. That's not being done right now. Like a sales call or, talking to people. Hey, you know what? You've shown interest. Are you interested? That's not happening yet.
So no, not through the website, but yes, as in my Instagram followers, when they follow me, the marketing guys do send out a like, are you interested? Do you want to book a demo? And then they have a conversation. Like,
Right.
yes. So again, as in ultimately book a demo. So if you,
Ultimately book a
yeah,
demo. Right. Right. But sales calls do happen.
yeah, very few on the Instagram, more
Outbound.
messaging. Yeah,
Which is also taken care by your marketing team.
yes.
Got it, Aditi.
And once they show
Um,
real keen interest is when they leave them with my number and then they may directly either book a call with me through either messaging me or through the website. They can book on a Calendly app.
got it. Touching upon the LMS aspect, you've mentioned about integrating LMS with your website, which you already have and stuff like that. I want to understand, as a trainer, uh, obviously it's a learning curve for you also because you think about LMS as something and then you figure out what LMS is there, I'm here, we need to hit a middle ground, you need to make some tweaks to blend in that and all those things. But what are your top requirements that you expect? No, like deal breaker things. If this is not there, there's no point. If are there 3, 5 things now that you might have
But
explored
very
a few
specifically
LMSs?
speaking about my case, GMAT, so one is like I'm able to assign them homework, I'm able to upload questions there, and they are able to kind of, put back the answers and it's auto corrected right now for
Right.
because that's the biggest
Mm,
problem right now practically speaking because if I have suppose 25 students right now, so I'm giving
right.
them homework every day. I'm kind of checking the homework manually, seeing what's
Right.
wrong and that discussing that. So that I think is a no brainer that needs to be automated, and I realize that. Okay, and the LMS does that beautifully because this is multiple choice, no. So if I have
Got
quiz,
it.
I put in 20 questions there, they answer those 20, no, that will immediately give me like 70% accuracy, 80% accuracy, 90% accuracy. So I think, it's stupid of me not to be using that yet. So because it's
Got it.
available, this is a natural thing which I should be using and doing so that I also am able to kind of, now segregate students, bucket them. Okay, so he got 100 on 100. So let me not put him in this batch, but another batch where
Right.
I can accelerate, so it will automatically kind of streamline a lot of things.
Right.
So that's one. Second is, of course, these common announcements or something like, tough questions I want to post for one batch. You solve and put it there. Or open the student community, which I think, a lot of LMS can do now. It's like a community where they can speak with each other.
Right.
So it needn't necessarily be about English. If there's maths doubts, so it gives them a
Right.
platform. So like I said, I have students, one student sitting in Canada who yesterday told me that, Aditi, this is a very lonely process because she opted for a one-on-one, and now she's sitting
Right.
in Canada. She said way back, when she was in India, and went for an undergrad. So she said, when I was in India, no, when I was in India, a lot of my friends were doing the SAT. So I was doing it
Mm,
with them, so I knew what was going on. Okay, so only yesterday
mm,
she told me that, Aditi, I'm feeling very like, lost. So, okay, you are there, my maths teacher is there, but I'm not meeting other students. So I'm not able to
right.
share my same sorrow that, okay, these kind of questions I'm just not getting. So if someone else also says, no, no, I'm not also getting, so you kind of feel
Yeah,
more
yeah.
relaxed and relieved. So their students also need to kind of, bond with each other and know what's going on, because, then it helps them also. I
Got
think the
it.
second need is to kind of create their community also. And third, of course, then I think it's very, very easy. As in, tech is really making it easy for us if we can upskill and start using it. Because, like, right now I'm manually emailing the books to each student who comes to me. Okay. I have a
Right, right.
database, from where they're accessing, or just post the books there and they can just access. So, of course, we have the drive and all now. But still, then it just becomes like a one stop solution for everything.
No, this is great because, as much as, teachers who are looking to move online, as much as they can go and look up things on an LMS platform, what they say they offer, nothing comes equal to someone like you telling how an LMS is solving problems for you, because nothing gets real than this, right? You said three, I think three important points, which I would rather interpret it in a different way. First point you told about, the test thing. I'm sure it saves you a lot of time and communication, and I know trainers who correct papers. I think that is also a lot of time. So I think you're saving a lot of time, and then you can use it in any which way possible. And then the second one you said announcements. Oh, sorry, the second one you said is community. From a student perspective, a student who said, although she's having a one-on-one session with you, she's missing out the classroom atmosphere. What we usually get, where we say that, hey, you know what? Have you studied this? I'm yet to study. Oh, I haven't studied too. Sharing those common problems, definitely, it's like an unsaid therapy sort of a thing, right? And I think the community aspect that you brought about is another key thing that people who are listening can understand. And then the third part you said is announcements,
Yeah, like
and a lot
newspaper.
of communicate, like sending individually something when they're on board with you. You can automate all those things, and this is great. There is a lot of, and you must have gone through a lot of LMS demos for you to come to this clarity, I think.
Totally, yes, I had to. So at one point of
Okay.
time, I thought I have to build all this, and then it was like,
Right.
so I started from there.
All the teachers, right? This is the funny thing. All the teachers, when they think about this thing, they directly run to a website developer.
Correct.
Hey, I want a website. But it is an application that they're actually looking
And
for.
ironically, my son tells me, Jagmohan, Mom, you're a computer science engineer. So I come from a tech background, and yet, 15 years of teaching English, and I'm like, okay, no, as in things have really changed. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I like probably I just know nothing of tech anymore. So I'm kind of still, now figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, see, as you said, right, doing a 4 year computer science degree like 15, 18, 20 years back, and what's happening today, the ecosystem has changed completely. People don't even have to go do 4 year computer science degrees at all. People who are working in companies, they just share the because there's so much gap between what is being taught in universities and what is actually being done at workplace. So there is another revolution that's also going on the other side. There are schools that offer zero fee 3 year degrees, or no, sorry, not 3 years, like 12 months, 18 months. They promise the students a job and they take the fee after the students earn. So these things are also happening. So this is like absolutely no surprise about it. Great, Aditi. I think you are well on your way. I mean, this has been a very organic understanding of how someone simply started off as a trainer, and then here we are looking at literally building a company where a lot of automation is happening. And I think what people can take away from whatever we've spoken so far is that they don't have to, like, really, the best part about talking to somebody who's had 15 years of experience is you've literally shared what you've undergone in 15, 18 years. People who are just starting can totally take away key points from you, and they can start implementing a lot of things that you've told right away. Some of the problems, see, this is where I think the conversation that we have is invaluable, right? These are things that can come only from so much of experience. These things cannot be told like a step by step
No,
route.
I really hope that, as in it reaches out to people and they're able to understand. And Jagmohan, see, now I've realized that you have to be relevant. So with every, with the pandemic, we changed, we were, we kind of upskilled, we kind of, embraced whatever changes. So now also I've realized that, okay, so this is run like a, okay, I'm teaching and I'm like a coach and etc. But now I have to kind of, stay relevant. So I have to adapt to the LMS. So it's all about, follow. So again, and sorry to sound cliche, as and everybody says this, but, it is all about following your passion. So not everybody is able to do it however they
Yeah,
want to do it. But like I
right.
said, just make a little time and probably, keep doing what you're doing full time, but start making little time for what you like doing. And before you realize, that can just become your job, your work.
Got it,
So
Aditi. And before we conclude or something, I just wanted to also touch upon these things. Now, there are two kinds of trainers, right? Trainers or teachers, who are like skilled as a teacher and who can probably take up topics and teach. They don't have a problem with teaching methodologies. And then there are others who are passionate about something, but they're not teachers. They don't have the skills to teach, and then they'll also have to transition. There's a balance between being a subject matter expert and imparting that expertise to others as well. Now, you come from the part where you were passionate about something and then you became a teacher. So what was the transition like? And is there the train the trainer programs, right? uh, how important are those? Did you undergo any one of those?
yes, so then I did go through a train the trainer program. But again, I feel, Jagmohan, those programs were just to teach you the subject matter. Now, delivery
Right,
is something which is organic, I again feel, So I may teach English GMAT in a particular way, somebody else may teach it in another way. I may
right,
have a forte which is like, probably being patient. And like, we did a small survey and we figured out that everybody was saying, no, Aditi is there, she mentors, she's available, she's patient, she's warm, she's approachable, etc. Someone else could be very strict and stern, but still, as in their delivery method resonates. Or, whatever, someone could be a very strict teacher, but then what he or she says, just stays in your head. So even he she could be a great teacher. So I think this is one, a very very personal thing. Second, I think, we somewhere do get inspired. I've had like my role models, when I was in school. There's some teachers who made a difference in my life, and they were the ones who were there available for me, and they were very warm. So I think I've kind of, subconsciously, again, I kind of mimic them. So it's been my thing. Third, I feel that, it has to come from a place of honesty, like I was mentioning earlier. If you have
right,
intent that what you want to say, reaches to the other person and he is able to interpret, understand, and apply, then, it doesn't matter how you teach. So train the trainer will also only do so much. Again, it has to be something which has to come from you. And
right.
of course, we did learn at the job also, like, so a batch which I
Yeah,
take now would not be like a batch I would have taken 15 years back.
right.
I've also somewhere learned, I'm sure, again, I may not realize it consciously, but if I sit back and think of how I would conduct a class 15 years back to now, so that confidence that, your skills do get honed. So it is learn at the job, but I think if you have the right intent, you will always be able to express yourself the right way and reach out. So it is a form of communication. It's only,
Got it.
now there is one person who's like at a position of power and who has to impart knowledge, and make the other person, and every student is so different, Jagmohan. Last 15 years, I've, taught so many to understand that not everybody will understand it in the same manner.
Right.
Also develop a few HR skills, in the process, understand that, okay, this person may be nodding but is not understanding, but this person is not.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a lot at the job, you learn
At the
things
job with the
yeah.
experience.
So teaching is something which I don't think can be taught, but
Yeah,
so content, again, I can make you a subject matter specialist, but to teach you need a certain set of qualities and that intent.
got it, Aditi. And one final thing, you so far you thrived on, um, doing one-on-one or at the max 1 to 4. Where it was you. There is the content that you have, no doubt about it, but it's the person who's delivering it, right? And now you're transiting towards a space where you're looking to scale up and you're trying to clone yourself in different ways, like making videos and all those things. Now, if that 1 to 1 or 1 to 4 was 100%, how much of 100% can be made into a product? What's the max that you think can be pushed? Was it like, 50% or
I would
80%?
like to believe, Jagmohan, that it's 100% because again, I don't want it to be diluted. Practically speaking, only when the whole product is ready and I've tested it in the market would I know better. Maybe 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, if we again get onto a conversation, I will be able to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, but from what I understand, maybe the feel is not going to be the same, Jagmohan. But if
Right.
it's ultimately me who's making all of this, and still, so maybe what we're looking at is create videos, but still be there, like 4 live classes in a week instead of 14 in a week. But
Huh.
the so if I'm there available, I still need to test it out. But I think we can replicate a large part of it.
Got it.
Again, if I don't let go of my ethos, my philosophy, my intent, again, if the underlying statement is to help as many, and the minute we go into make as many, probably we'll dilute it. As in, if the intent stays at help as many, I think we should be able to. And my team knows this, and everybody who's working with me or who's advising me, my mentors also know this, that my statement is that I will not dilute this at any point of time. So if I feel that the tech is diluting it, I will have to go back to what I'm doing. So I want the tech to enable it. So from my 100%, make it into 150 and not bring it down to a 50.
I think what I'd like to take away from this is no matter how much automation comes, no matter how much you can replicate yourself, I think there will always be students out there who will want, at least like you rightly said, right? It's not about if you were teaching for 14 hours. I think you can aspire to bring it down to an hour, 4 hours, but you cannot make that zero, I
Zero.
think.
And I don't
You know,
want to do that, Jagmohan, because this is how I've started. Okay, this is what I've done. So
right.
I don't think I can let go of this touch and feel. It's not me.
Yeah, and then probably you're not going to be as passionate as what you were if you had to simply. Probably the first reason you came into this and you enjoyed this was that
Human relationships.
human relationship. You're taking away the satisfaction that you've been able to touch a lot of people in different ways, as you rightly said, right? You were not only just an English teacher. People would come and have a moment with you, about their personal thing, and I think you've all those things, some things just cannot be put in black and white. It's just gray. It's part of two people interacting, is what I believe. So great. uh, so far, I just have one question, which is totally away from all this business and training and all those things, just to end, to leave away with something that we can talk. I don't know if you've had the time to do all these things. If you had to suggest three books, from a recent perspective, I wouldn't say from all the books that you've read. Recently, three books that you feel has impacted you a lot. What are those three books,
So I think
Aditi?
everybody has gone through that book or read that book or everybody recommends, but actually Atomic Habits is a good book to have handy.
James Clear,
Yeah.
right?
So
Okay,
that's there on my side table for always. So that's nice. Mm, I have this streak of feminism in me now, Jagmohan, where I feel that, because again, I come from a community where, traditionally women were not,
right,
they were basically homemakers. So there's this book called Sisterhood, which is really nice. I'm forgetting the author's name, but it's all about how we can kind of work as a community and just inspire each other, and
right,
together we can build. Because I also certainly believe that women are very very sensitive. Okay, so they make great leaders in
right.
all industries. And one reason why a lot of my students like me is, I think, because I have the sensitiveness to understand. I can gauge, I have that. I can just gauge what they're going through and kind of understand what is happening, which I feel, sorry to say, but most men are unable to kind of decode, to say so. So that, and then of course, I mean,
Sorry, I'm going to stop you here just to make sure we are on the right sisterhood book. You're talking about the sisterhood. There are a lot of sisterhood. Is this a fiction or a non-fiction
no, no, this
book,
is a
Aditi?
non-fiction.
It is called The Sisterhood, is it?
Wait, I'll tell you.
Or Sisterhood Economy? Oh, okay, yeah, I think this is what you mean. Yeah, Shaili Chopra.
Correct, Shaili Chopra.
Sisterhood Economy, of, by, for women. Great.
Correct.
Okay, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, because you've told a book. I didn't want to, because since there are a lot of books, I didn't want people to get
No,
confused.
and another book which I love, and I think most of us have read it, is Becoming by Michelle Obama. So, which is also like, quite
Oh yeah,
funny. Yeah.
right.
So, as an autobiography, I think that's one of the most honest autobiography.
Okay,
After Open, I think Open is another good autobiography which I love by Andrea Gassi.
got it. There's a pattern that I see. There's already a couple of autobiographies that you've told of people, and I think no, I can totally relate to it, because that's sort of an experience that I also undergo when I talk to people and when they share their stories. This is a little bit of your story, so it's a little bit of like a biography for me, and nothing comes close to people sharing their personal experiences, because I think it's see I feel another important thing today is to talk to people whom we can relate to, right, who are not already on a podium. It's not easy to be inspired by people who've already reached great heights, because we don't see them when they were in their normal self, because that's what helps us relate to. And what I've realized through this is that, when I'm talking to Aditi today, probably, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, you might have grown a lot. But people listening to you when you were here and then, believing is way easier and way more inspiring than to see you when you've already, reached a great height. It's, people, there's slightly a little bit of, it's like, there's a little less connection, is what I personally felt. And so yeah, great. Aditi, you know it's been a wonderful last 2 hours talking to you. Lot of learnings for me. It was one of the most organic journeys that I've come to learn of about. There is so much talk about entrepreneurship today, and people think there is a step by step process to become an entrepreneur, where I've also come to learn that, so many successful entrepreneurs have turned out to be great entrepreneurs by accident, by simply following their passion. So if people are wondering what it takes to become an entrepreneur, you don't become an entrepreneur by deciding you want to become an entrepreneur. When you start doing what you love doing, I think that's the first step of you're taking towards your entrepreneurial journey. And that's exactly how it felt while I was talking to you. And this your story is only going to motivate and give hope to a lot of people to just start off without worrying about the outcome. And if they do it right, I think everybody
Absolutely.
is going to
Just
become an
keep
entrepreneur.
doing what you like doing, and just of course, there's a lot of hard work, and there can be ups and downs in a life of an entrepreneur. It's never like the same, but just trust yourself, believe in yourself. Again, all these cliche things are what works, Jagmohan. That you have to just keep doing what you like doing day in day out, and it will someday. And I think a lot of young kids now, they put a lot into it, their entrepreneur courses, and as in, I know I do want to become this, etc. You have to just go easy and just follow your heart, I think.
Yeah, yeah, without losing your organicness to living life also, right? I mean, you have to experience certain things in different ages also. But I think probably that's us who were born and lived most of our life in the 90s and probably a little bit of late 80s. Probably today it's not the same anymore. Probably it's a reverse happening. Probably because I see a lot of 18, 19-year-olds obsessed and making a lot of money, successful and all those things. Probably they're going to do it in reverse. They'll do all this till they're 25, 30, and then after 30 they're going to like go back and live all those things. Probably
Yeah,
that's
retire
what is
early.
happening.
So again, each to its own. Everyone is doing great.
Yeah,
Kids are also like kind of, they're of course smarter than us, but yeah, they have grown up with a different value system, I think.
yeah, yeah.
And
Because social media today is filled with motivation, making money. What it's a good thing in a way, because there were certain things that we never had any exposure to at all when we were growing up. Today people know that, okay, if I do this today, this is how it's going to impact me like 20 years later. I don't think we ever had such kind of futuristic things.
formulas, yeah,
We blindly lived in the present. Yeah,
correct,
we were just not even thinking about next week probably. And I mean, everything has its own pros and cons. But yeah,
correct.
this is what is happening today. And yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time
No,
out.
no, it's just great.
I
Jagmohan.
wish
I
you all the
feel,
best.
as in, I'm feeling so alive now, because it's been kind of like, a reminder of, what I am, what I,
Right.
it's been great. As in, it's almost been like I've, thought aloud again what I need to do. It's been great. And I could immediately,
No, I totally hear this a
yeah.
lot. Like without this conversation, I wouldn't have sat down and thought about all this. And you asking me all these, like you made me like go back and think of all those things. I've heard this from a couple of other people as well. I'm glad that it is that way to you. It is that way
Oh,
for you.
thank you so much, Jagmohan. Thank you.